when you first get your AutoCAD, you're going to be presented with this welcome menu. And I'll teach you in this video how you can set up a template at the end. But I also am going to show you how to set up your workspace, because a lot of people overlook that. And it's not just about drawing lines, it's about making the place comfortable enough for you so that you can learn the way that you were taught. Some people learn by visual, some people learn by reading, some people learn by hearing it. I'm a visual person myself. That's what I happened to do when I was an engineer and did my design work. But some people just get it by doing the command line. Some people do it by just typing in wherever on dead space. And there's different ways to do things in AutoCAD, and I'll show you all that. But the first primary thing we're going to do is go ahead and click Started Drawing. It's going to bring you up with this window. Now this is going to be your command bar up here, basically. It's going to have Draw, Modify, Annotations, Layers, Blocks, and you can read them yourself. But the very first thing I want to show you is how AutoCAD can work with you and help you. And that's my biggest feature. I find that a lot of things are being missing in basic AutoCAD 101, especially from the teacher side to the student. Alright, if you hold your mouse over an icon, it will bring up to you not only the name of the line, let's say in line in this case, and not only that brings up to you the command that you would put in the command line, which would be down, I don't know if I can hold that on there, but I'll try. Let's see. It may not let me do it. Once I take it off, it might lose it. But if you can look down underneath that drawing, it says LINE and F1 for more help. If you just type in, and I'll just give you an example here. If you just type in anywhere, LINE, it brings up the command for the line, and there it is. Okay? That's what I want to show you. Now if you do it down here in the command line, LINE, then you go back up to your mouse. Again, same thing. Only two different ways to draw the same thing. And another way to do it is just by holding your mouse over it, touching it once. See how it lights up? See this how it lights up right there, and it changes your prompt, and then you can use your mouse. That's three different ways that I've showed you how to draw a line. But that's not what this is about. So, but the very first thing, like I said, everything over here you can hover over and it will bring up the command line and what activates it. Like this would be circle, you type in circle. It tells you what it does. It tells you how it works. And this is with annotate, parametric, anything on this tab in the whole menu is like this. It's very, very nice that they do this for us. Okay? So anything, like I said, and some have videos, some don't. Mostly I think most of them are basically going to be, the pictures are going to be on the main bar, especially when you're doing drawings. Okay, that's the first thing I want to show you. The second thing I want to show you is you have your model space. Your model space is an infinity. It goes forever. It can be any unit, it can be any dimension, it can be for civil, mechanical, you want to show chemistry, whatever you want to do. It shows a two-dimensional drawing as if you're putting it on paper and you're putting it in model space. And you can draw 30 miles, you can draw 30 millimeters, okay? It's what they call endless, or basically there's no limit to it. And then down on the tab here, again, going in the teaching method, you have your layout. Now this is all going to be very simple for you because I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but it does get complicated because this is where a lot of people have problems with, is understanding model space and paper space. And they do use these terms, paper and model space, but AutoCAD calls them layouts, and there's a reason for that, and I'll get into that later. And we can, all these things are editable, all these things are changeable, and all these things are workable for you, but that's not what this is about. This is about setting up your workspace. Now down here, see what I said? Model or paper space. Right now we're going to stay in model space, and we're in drawing 1. This is something people overlook all the time, and I know for a fact, I've taught many people, engineers, adults, kids, whatever, And the very first thing I'll say to them is, and they're struggling and struggling, and they're saying, oh, I can't get this line to do what I want it to do. I can't move this to what I want to do. And I'll ask them, I'll say, did you go through your workspace? Did you make your own personal workspace? They'll go into a new job, and then they'll say, oh, no, I'm all lost because I don't know what I'm doing. Well, maybe that person had a different setup for snaps in their workspace. Maybe they like working with a grid. Maybe they like doing grid snaps. Maybe that's how they drew before. Then you're replacing that person. Well, then you need to go in there and load up your template, load up what works for you. And like I said, people work on 3 different levels. They work either visually or hearing it or reading it. That's just common sense. So this is always the most important thing I say to all my people when I teach. Set this up that works for you. Let's go over it. We have our grid. Our grid is set up like a grid. This is what you see. A grid can be endless, it can be big, it can be small, it can multiply itself. You can right click on it and go to grid settings, and then you can actually change all the grid spacing. Say you want 1 inch by 1 inch, say you want your grid snap on, say you don't want your grid snap on, you want your polar snap on. All this is in snap and grid on the display things. I'll show you that again. When you highlight something in blue in AutoCAD, it lights up, and that means it's on. So this would be your grid, and if you wanted to find out more, you right click on it with your mouse, or you type in grid mode F7, whatever one you want to do, and then you go to grid settings, and then it brings up a tab, and then you can modify this. But this drafting settings applies to much more than just a grid. But you see here it says snap and grid. Okay. I don't like working with grids personally, but if you do, then knock yourself out. Then this would be your grid snaps, and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so you're going to draw a line, and it's going to see it snaps. Boom, boom, boom. You see that? It's like, okay, I'm going to draw a line here. Snap, snap, snap. Let me take my ortho off. I'll get into that later with you. Ortho. Okay, so you see it snaps. Snap, 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 snap. I don't like that. I don't want my lines to snap. Maybe some people do. Maybe they love the snap. I don't know. But always, and the other thing about AutoCAD, when you get out of a command, you're in a command, hit escape. Brings you right out of the command, and that's the prompt default cursor you want to look for. Alright, so that's an example. Now let's do that same thing without the grid snap and without the grid and draw a line. You see how smooth and how pretty that is? And I can make it do ortho, which is basically right angles, right, left, and I'll explain that to you later. That's the next tab, matter of fact. But right now I can draw a line here, 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 whatever I want, and connect it. Okay. And I have different ways to do my escape. I can go ahead and hit enter, or I can hit the escape key. I like using the escape key. Being a good drafter is not so much in being able to draw and drawing fast. Being a good drafter or engineer is learning how to use a program properly. If you just draw something down on layer 0 and expect it to work for you, don't expect it to work for you, because those layers and properties are there for a reason. We'll get into that also, but this is not what this video is about. You see, as I'm getting into this, there's a lot to teach, and hopefully there'll be more than one video on this. We'll see. Alright, ortho. Ortho means you go like a step. Up, down, left, right. It doesn't go anywhere else. Now watch. I'll turn it on. It'll turn blue. I'll go back to my line, and now I'm drawing ortho. I can't draw an angle on this, okay? Boom, okay? Now you understand. Now if my ortho's off after I just drew with that, now watch. I could still do ortho to a point because it will default to that, but I can also draw angles, okay? That's that. Now the next one, and then like I said, if you hold your mouse over it, it'll show you the command line. You can just type in ortho mode or F8, and you can, like I said, you can do it on the screen or whatever. That's a freebie for that one. Your next one is and I usually leave this on when I'm drawing buildings or I'm drawing structures, and I'm learning how to take it on and off when I'm doing. I say, okay, I put the ortho on, and I want to draw a nice square for a building. Okay, and I'll hit enter, and then I'll go ahead and take it off, and I want to add to that. You see how that works? and then say I'm not done with the line, but I want to go back to ortho, and if you use the hotkey, you can do this, and see it goes back to that. So that's just a small example of how ortho works. Okay. This is part of your setup. I usually leave it on, and I take it off when I'm drawing circles or whatever. It's a good habit to get into. The polar snap, you can use it. Some people do or some people don't. It's just on your particular way. And you can have coordinates set up. So like if you set up, let's say you set up 23 in your polar snap, and you had a circle here, and you wanted to do in your center, and you wanted to do a polar snap. You see how it snapped to that? Snap, snap, snap. Okay, that's what polar snap's about. And that was set up down here with different trackings. Now you could do 90, 80, 270. I'll show you again how that works. Draw a circle. And it doesn't have to be a circle, but circle's the best way to show it. 90, 45, 270. And then you see at the top where it says 180, that's where it says. That's what it's going to draw. Okay. So that's a little help there. Most people don't draw with polar snap on. They like to leave that off because they like the free draw. So I don't leave that on. I leave my ortho on, my polar snap off. This next one is very important. Isometric drafting. It's what I usually like to do is leave it on isoplane left, so that whenever I work on a plane, I'm always in the same plane. I never mess with this, and I never turn it on or off. I just leave it at default. This one, calling snap references, you're going to love this one. I always leave it on. Now, I'm going to show you in the video if you want to go ahead and copy what I've done and set up your workspace like mine and make a template. I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's say I'm drawing a straight line. And then I want to draw another straight line as you saw me before, but I don't know where to really draw it from. But I want it to be starting at the same point. Well, if I have this icon on here showing reference snap, I can hover over that line, right? I can activate my line, hover over it, see how the cursor turned to green, and I can drag it over and see I'm on the same line as the other line. And I can actually start that line at that point. And let's say I want to go ahead and end it with the one down here, so I'll put my cursor over it just to hold it on, even though I'm in ortho mode, and it'll say, okay, boom. And both those lines are exactly the same. And that's and people always forget to turn that on. Always, in my opinion, is to have object tracking snap on, because it really, really helps. Let's say you're going to line something up like a circle, and you want to move it. You can go to your object line snapping and then move it to wherever you want. Okay? So yes, always leave that on. That's my personal opinion. Now, the other main thing in this course that I'm trying to show you is your snapping references. I've had people come in there and have that turned off and are like, why isn't anything snapping? Why don't I find my midpoints? Well, what's happening? And they'll turn that off. And let me show you what happens to a line when you do that. And then you hold the line over it. You have your end point and your midpoint and your starting point. But when you turn these snaps off and you bring another line in and you want to move it, see, you can't touch it. There's no snapping there to move to. But watch what happens when you turn it on. And then you want to move that line. And you want to move it. Now the thing shows up, see? And now I can move it to the end, I can move it to the middle, or I can move it to the middle on this side. You see what I'm saying? So, yes, you need that one on. And that is your snapping reference 2D point. And now, another thing I'm going to show you, and you can write this down, and you can pause this. I can't zoom in on this because I don't know how to do that. But this is what, I'm going to say it real slow, this is what I suggest you do for setting up your default snaps. And I tell this to everybody that I work with when I'm working with them in tutoring, or whether I'm working with them on the job site and explaining to them how to set up their drawings. I will say to them, please, let's do the same snaps, let's do the same thing. So if you're showing me something on a screen share or another video or something, we can be on the same page. And that's very, very, very important, especially when you're drafting, drawing, piping, HVAC, architectural building, designing for interior, whatever. Okay. Endpoint, on. midpoint, on, center, on. And what I mean by on, you can click them on or off with the check mark. Geometric center, on. Node, on. Quadrant, I don't use. Intersection, yes. Extension, on. Insertion, on. Perpendicular, on. Tangent, no, I don't use tangent. Nearest, on. And apparent intersection, on. Now, that's the quick version of this. So if you want to get more detailed, you go to the Object Snap settings, and then this is where it brings up all those things that you can do. You can select them all, or you can clear them all, or you can leave them on. But because this is my template, I leave them on. So like I said, there's many ways to get to the same thing. And you can also do this by just going up to the toolbar up here and finding the setting for it if you want to, but I prefer to do it down here. So these are the most important that I say to you to leave on. This here, as far as the annotation, means if you're going to draw something in a block and it wants to show you the wording for it, as you bring it in the block, I always like to leave that on. I don't mess with these at all. Now, architects will want to draw in quarter scale. So they'll either draw 1/4 inch to 1 foot, or the HVAC guys will kind of want to draw on their own scale. Most people that I know draw 1-to-1. In other words, 1 inch equals 1 inch. 1 foot equals 1 foot. 1 millimeter equals 1 millimeter. It's best to keep your track of your scale. You're going to come in a situation when you're an architectural firm, and they're going to say, we want all our paper space to be in 1/4 inch equals a foot for scale. Or you might come into a mapping area where you have to scale it down because you can't draw 32 miles of trees or something like that, or ground contours with concentrations in them, because it's too much for the drawing to handle, and you're going to crash the computer. So then you will start drawing in scale at that point. But most of the time, for most of you guys, as you're setting up your template, leave it 1-to-1. And again, this shows you your workspace. You can do 2D drafting annotation, 2D basics, 3D modeling. What I always tell everybody when I'm first getting involved in this, and I haven't even got you guys in drawing lines yet, but I'm just setting you up now to get your basic AutoCAD working. I'm going to say to you right now, save it as whatever you want. I call it BDS Tutor Settings. This is my workspace. Whenever I come into another company or come into another person's house and I'm going to set up a drawing, I have a little thumb drive that I have my template on, and I drag it with me and I put it into the drive, and I save it on it, and I look for that, and I say, okay, I'm going to teach you from this now. If you want this, you can have it, but that's my settings, okay? And then this tab here is your Anno monitor. That means if you have like another monitor or something like that, just leave that blank. Isolating objects you don't need, and this is for your hardware graphics configuration. So what my point is, for you to draw efficiently and the best, you need to set up this space down here that works for you. I have people cry on me before because they're like, my teacher does it this way and it all looks so pretty and beautiful, but when I do it, I got all these snaps, and that's, chances are they've got their grid snaps on. Chances are they've got this. And I'll look at their drawing and I'll say, what are your snaps? What are you doing? And they'll have every one of these things turned off. And I'm going, no wonder you can't find your midpoints. And so that's the first lesson. I don't know how long this video would be. This is my first time ever doing it. I am a professional, or I should say I'm a retired senior design engineer, level 3. If you want my resume, you can ask for it, but I don't know if I'm going to do YouTube videos on this or not. I may edit this, I'm not sure. But I'm doing this because I'm a tutor for Wyzant, and I want to get my students involved in at least setting up their AutoCAD. And if this helps them at least get the basic program started, they're going to be a better drawer for it. We haven't even gotten into layer properties. We haven't even got into annotations. We haven't got into parametrics. We haven't got into any of the stuff up here. How to draw a circle, how to draw an arc, how to draw a parabola, how to draw an octagon, how to do an array, how to copy, move, paste, scale, how to even pan. You see on my little curve over here, we got so much to cover. But I'm telling you, if you start with the basics, and this to me is the basics, and I see this overlooked too many times. People will open up their AutoCAD and they'll assume that they have the default settings on, and then the teacher will automatically start teaching, okay, this is how you draw a line. and then the student tries, or the person tries, even watching the video, to do the same thing, and then they realize their snaps aren't on. It's not set up the same way. So I know I'm going on and on about this, but I believe it's very, very important. This is my video for you in Basic AutoCAD 101. Hopefully there's another one. Like I said, I'll probably edit this, and now I'll together. But I did say I was going to show you how to save your template, so I moved my icon over here so I could do that. So once you've got everything set up, once you've got your, and I'll show you this again just in case you missed it. There's your object snaps, and there's all the checkpoints, so you can pause the video if you need to see that. And then I save my workspace as Save As. If you click on Save As, it gives you the option to save it as a name, and I save mine as BDS Tutor. Okay, everything is set up now. Now what I want to do is go over to the A command, or the A menu here, and I want to say Save As. And I want to save this as a drawing template. Now watch what's happened. I go to the drawing template, and you already see I have one named BDS 2022. That is going to be the template I'm going to open every time. That template is going to contain my properties, it's going to contain my line weights, it's going to contain all my viewports, all my paper space, everything that I'm familiar with in that drawing. And that's important too, I would say, especially when you're doing a new drawing. Your template is not going to be the same as my template. But if I give you my template and then you open it up, then you have what I have. So that's what I do, and then I save it there, which I'm not going to do in this case. And I did say to you I was going to save, show you how to save as a template. And to show you how that works, go back to Start. It says Templates down here, and then there's BDS, and I open it up, and boom, there it is. Same thing, and to prove that it works, these are my snaps, and there's my workspace. So all my properties are still the same as they were before, and that, like I said, there's more to these videos, I hope anyway, we'll find out. But this is my basic lesson for just 101. There are so many things that you still have to learn, and just for an example, let's say we drew a circle, okay? And the selection key is very important. That's another important thing that we need to talk about. When you hold your mouse button down once, you see where it says specify opposite corner, and it turns into like a little green dot with a dotted box around it. That's your selection box, and that's very important. If you draw your selection box holding down your mouse once, and then draw to the blue side, you only select the items that are there. Okay, you don't select the whole thing. Now watch, I'll show you what I mean. I'll do this again, and again, and I'll add some lines to it. Okay, so in this selection box, if I select the selection box, hold it down, and there's just no command on this, and hold it down and select it with a blue box, it's only going to select, and if I pull it back, I'm showing you this now, it's only going to select the things that it contains completely, okay? Now, if I take that same box, and I put it over here, and I can do blue, but if I do the opposite pull, the other direction, watch what happens, it turns green. And then whatever it's touching, it's going to select. So even if this wasn't completely included, and that is good for like copying, it's good for trimming. I mean, it's got all kinds of features to it. Anyway, that's another little thing I wanted to show you about your selection box. And that's something we're going to need to go over in Basic 101. But the main point of this video for today was to show you how to set up your workspace, how to set up your model space, and then how to make a template. Okay. If you want to learn more about my teaching styles and more of my lessons on AutoCAD, please hit the like button and subscribe, and also I'll have in the link at the bottom a link to Wisent, where I do tutoring on a per hour basis. So if you want to get some one-on-one tutoring, personal tutoring, I'd be more than happy to teach you. I am looking for students right now, and this would be a good way for me to go ahead and advertise that. So please hit the like and subscribe button. Please, let's build this channel up, and let's go ahead and question everything so that we can get the right answers. Thank you for your time.